1999? When? No. 06. What was it? What year was that?
2009 was the was the science paper.
So I remember, now tell me if I'm wrong, the University of Nevada found out that there was something going on with autism. Now that's what we're talking about right now?
That wasn't the University of Nevada. That was me and my team. We were housed. Our laboratory was at the University of Nevada.
Oh, okay.
And that is what we were talking about.
And that was big news in the autism community.
That's correct. And we isolated this virus beyond a shadow of a doubt.
And then it just kind of went away.
Well, that's because, Andy Wakefield, I met him a week or so after the paper came out. I met him at a DAN conference in January, a couple months after the paper came out in January of 10, very early January. And he said, they're going to get you. And Kent told me the same thing when I met him shortly there afterwards. He said, oh, you'll be Wakefield. And I said, oh, no, this is hard data, and this is science. We isolated the virus. It's not sequences. There's no doubt. This paper was vetted for 5 months by the federal government. I showed you the sheet of the people that attended the meeting on July 22nd, 5 months before it was published. We shared all our samples with everybody. We grew up the virus. There was no doubt. There is still no doubt. The only mistake in that paper was the original description of an XMRV in human prostate cancer was only pieces and parts of the virus that was constructed in a laboratory to make a whole virus. So for the first time in human retrovirus history, which started in 1980 by Frank Rossetti with the discovery and Bernie Poise of HTLV1, which causes neurological diseases and cancer. Let's just say causes cancer and is associated with neurological diseases because it causes something called ATL, adult T-cell leukemia, and it's in every single case of adult T-cell leukemia. But there are a lot of people that get associated inflammatory diseases and a multiple sclerosis-like disease, which will put them in wheelchair. But only 5% of the people with the virus will ever get sick. So you have to have something else. Well, I was in prostate cancer drug development before I ever heard of CFS here in beautiful Ventura County. And we isolated those viruses from those autistic kids. And of course, the hypothesis was that the vaccine wasn't contaminated. But if your family, if your mom, dad, if you're harboring these viruses and you're a child, especially a neonate, and you get vaccinated, the vaccine's job is to divide and cause to grow the very cells that are going to be a little factory for manufacturing the retrovirus. So at that time, within a days of when the paper came out, yes, we went on the news shows and said yes, because the federal government had seen the autism. It wasn't in the original paper, but we had several meetings between July and the publication where we showed the children, we showed the other diseases, we showed the family, we showed it to Tony Fauci and NIAID. There's just no doubt, and there won't ever be any doubt in my mind that we isolated, that we were the direct isolation, as our paper said, of the first of this novel gamma retrovirus. And there are many strains, just like there are at least 7 strains of HTLV1 or HTLV, human T-cell leukemia virus, lymphotropic virus, and many of those strains aren't associated yet with any diseases at all. There are several strains of HIV, and only a few strains and clades, and they change rapidly, are associated with any kind of disease. So the government quickly, when they realized within the next year, when our studies continued and we showed the extent of the family studies and the fact that these things were associated not only with autism but with Lou Gehrig disease, with Parkinson's disease, with Alzheimer's disease, and the aluminum in the vaccine and the other excipients, we call them, those debris, those other things that that harm the immune system,
What are
do damage.
excipients?
Excipients are what we do, what's in the vial in the liquid in addition to the antigens.
Okay.
So all of the things you do to make it soluble.
that's right.
Corn oil, peanut oil. Why are all our kids developing allergies to peanuts? Oh, because we're injecting them with peanut oil from the time they're a month old.
And it's paired with the
paired with the antigens
so
and
your
the
body
aluminum.
recognizes that as
Correct.
a major toxin. It's going to make you sick.
Forever. Correct. And then, of course, whatever they pick up in the lab that we learned in 2011 was very possibly gamma retroviruses and other retroviruses. And as I said, these papers came out just this year, just a few months ago, and the approval from the FDA in 2014 of the technology, which I showed, would in fact clean up gamma retroviruses.
So what are we going to do about all
there.
these sick kids right now?
Well, those are the victims, and that's why I'm working, and that's why I'll never shut up, because they're the victims that are hung out to dry. The FDA is going to